Every one of us know in the secret heart that he or she could be a better person, more tolerant, more unselfish, more generous, more kind. None of us ever fully lives up to his or her ideals. But the encouraging thing is this, that improvement is always possible, my friend. Sometimes willpower will do it. Sometimes prayers do it. Sometimes sermons and sometimes word on a page. Our chief requirement, our chief desire, our chief want in life is someone who will make us do what we can. My friend, lack of self honesty can be profoundly damaging. Failures in self honesty are the root of almost every emotion and mental disturbances. Promising a man, they ruins their career. I've noticed, because they are poor judges of their own abilities and aptitudes. In fact, everywhere, or any, I would say, disrupted marriage, there is on both sides self-deception. On the other hand, the ability to look at yourself hard and honestly, admitting both the bad and the good, is the most powerful untapped source of human energy. In his book, The Creative Years, the author Rule Hall, he tells about a meek, timid teacher who who was put in charge of a class of incorrigibles. One boy in particular, 14-year-old, delighted in throwing the class into an uproar. One afternoon, in desperation, the teacher kept that boy after school and asked him why he was making her life so miserable. For a moment, he looked sullenly at her and then replied, "Because you are such a sucker for it." "I know I am," she sighed, and very coolly, comfortably replied, "I have been always afraid of people like you, and yet I would like to be able to help you. Don't you want anyone to love you or help you?" To her amazement, the bully broke down and poured out to her this story of his misery and poverty and loneliness. Her honesty as a person is called forth the truth from this confused and resentful boy. Her power to accept herself with all the fears and weaknesses became her power to accept him. This in turn made it possible for him to accept himself. Unfortunately, my friend, self honesty is very rare. Most of the time, it is other directed, looking to the goals and ideals of others for guidance rather than within themselves. This kind of thing distorts the individual, frustrates his or her inborn hunger for personalization. He or she is forced constantly to dodge what he or she really thinks and feels. And yet, in the end, he or she cannot avoid it because it is the deepest, most important concern of his or her life. How can you check on your self honesty? It's simple. I feel that first is examining your sense of humor. Can you laugh at yourself? Truly, genuinely. Laugh at yourself. If so, you probably have a good idea of what you are really alike. Second thing I feel is writing a thorough self analysis, not as an end in itself, but as a kind of check. A good friend should be able to help you decide whether your list of traits and abilities is objective. If you do not have a friend from whom you can ask such help, then in itself could be a sign that you are not being honest with yourself. Self honesty is not easy to achieve, my friend, nor it is something we win overnight. It is something we must work towards slowly, gradually. Certainly, no one should spend all his time probing his inner motives, but we can at least try to be honest about a selected set of goals. One important area is work, creative work, getting involved, remaining involved. What does a person get himself or herself into a muddle by choosing the wrong job? Because he and his eyes are fixed on the accidentals rather than the essentials. The salary, the glamour, or prestige a certain job offers. He doesn't stop to ask himself whether he really wants to do that kind of work or how well it fits his capabilities. As a result, he must spend years in a futile effort to gain success. When half his effort made in a field better suited to his or her talents and temperament would yield twice the progress and of course happiness. My friend, sometimes failures can make us move honest about our careers than success. One of the happiest men I know quit a good job as a newspaper editor to spend 2 years toiling on a novel. He sent the finished product out to a publishers and got back nothing but rejection. But when I sympathized with him, he said, I don't regret a day of those 2 years. When my book failed, I realized I just was not a novelist. You can't imagine how free I felt. I went back to the work unburdened by dubious by thoughts or any kind of doubts about his destiny, and he is on top. He is a top magazine editor. He's so happy. His favorite advice to someone who complains that he has a frustrated dream, he'll say, try it. Even if you find you don't like it or aren't any good at it, you have gained in self knowledge, my friend, he would say. Then you can get down to the work, working at something you are good at. My friend, advancement is not synonymous with happiness. Not, not even with success. It should be the result of a desire from within. In searching for self honesty, my friend, the great danger in the human tendency to castigate oneself. Too many equate self honesty with self condemnation. But genius self honesty includes an appraisal of bad and good, both. We need to recognize our weaknesses. We must not recognize. We must also recognize our potentials, so we can develop them. The goal of self honesty, my friend, I sum up, is three words: the open self. The person who achieves mature self knowledge is no longer afraid of life. He or she can accept all his or her experiences, all feelings evenly. My friend, being honest with yourself is more than a formula for success on the job or in a marriage. It is simply a way of life. Thank you very much.